Major General Evelyn James, a highly decorated Army officer, had decided to treat herself to something she hadn't done in years, taking a rare day off for some personal time. And what better way to spend it than shopping for herself? At 42, Evelyn stood as a commanding figure, exuding both discipline and grace. Her short, naturally curly hair had streaks of silver, a testament to her years of service. Dressed casually in a simple black tracksuit and sneakers, she effortlessly blended into the Saturday crowd at Westfield Mall. Having served her country for over 2 decades, Evelyn had led troops in some of the most dangerous regions on the planet. She'd stared down insurgents, brokered peace treaties, and commanded thousands of soldiers in life-or-death situations. But today, on this rare break, she just wanted a simple thing: to find a comfortable pair of running shoes and maybe enjoy a refreshing smoothie afterward. As she meandered through the high-end store, checking out a display of sneakers, Evelyn noticed a few eyes drifting her way. It wasn't unusual. She was used to the occasional glances that her commanding presence often sparked in others. But these looks felt different, sharper, more scrutinizing. Shrugging it off, she kept on browsing. Little did she know, a new presence had just entered the scene: Officer Troy Beckett. Troy, a mid-level cop in his late 30s, had a reputation for quick judgment and even quicker action. Known for his tendency to racial profile, he had faced numerous complaints, but the department consistently swept them under the rug. Today, Troy was off duty, wearing a simple white shirt and jeans, though his badge and holstered gun were clearly visible on his belt. As Troy strolled past the sneaker store, his gaze landed on Evelyn. Something about her, a confident air, perhaps the way she carried herself, made him suspicious. She didn't quite fit the profile of someone shopping at an upscale mall. He lingered by the entrance, pretending to fiddle with his phone, all the while keeping a sharp eye on her. His mind began to race with assumptions. Was she casing the store? Did she have stolen credit cards? Meanwhile, Evelyn, oblivious to his watchful eyes, picked out a pair of sneakers and made her way to the counter. The young cashier behind the register offered her a nervous smile as he scanned the items. Evelyn handed over her credit card, waiting for the transaction to process. Just as she did, she noticed Troy standing outside the store, staring at her. She felt a flicker of unease, but pushed it aside, attributing it to her own imagination. As Evelyn stepped out of the store, bag in hand, Troy blocked her path. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said coldly. "I need to ask you a few questions." Evelyn raised an eyebrow and shot him a questioning look. "Is there a problem, officer?" "You look suspicious in there," Troy said, his hand resting uncomfortably close to the grip of his weapon. "Mind telling me what you were doing?" Evelyn's patience, sharpened through years of navigating tense military situations, was beginning to wear thin. "I was buying shoes," she replied, holding up the bag as evidence. "Is that a crime now?" Troy narrowed his eyes. "Let me see your ID." "Why?" Evelyn asked, her voice calm yet firm. "Have I done something wrong?" Troy's hand tightened on his gun. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." It was then that Evelyn understood. This wasn't about her actions. It was about her skin color. Her heart sank, but she stood tall, unwavering. "Officer," she said with quiet authority, "I'm going to ask you to step back. I've done nothing wrong, and I won't be treated like a criminal for simply shopping." But Troy wasn't listening. He was already moving towards her, reaching for his gun. Without warning, he drew his weapon, aiming it directly at Evelyn. The crowded mall seemed to hold its breath as people froze, watching the unfolding drama. Mothers clutched their children tighter, and store employees peered nervously from behind counters. Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest, but she didn't panic. Years of military training kicked in. Slowly, she raised her hand. Her eyes locked onto Troy's. "Put the bag down," Troy barked. Without hesitation, Evelyn dropped the shopping bag onto the floor. "Officer, you're making a mistake," she said, her voice steady. "Don't tell me what I'm doing," Troy snapped. Get on the ground. Evelyn hesitated. To drop to the ground would be to submit completely, and she wasn't going to give this officer that satisfaction. Officer, she said, her voice clear and commanding, I am Major General Evelyn James of the United States Army. I suggest you lower your weapon now. For a moment, Troy faltered. The authority in her voice was undeniable, but his prejudice clouded his judgment. He scoffed, yeah, right. Get on the ground, or else at that moment, a voice rang out from the crowd. A young man, stepping forward, raised his phone. He had been recording the entire interaction. She just said she's a general man. You're pointing a gun at a hero. Troy's face flushed with anger. Stay out of this, he barked, but it was too late. The damage was done. People in the crowd began pulling out their phones, recording the entire scene. Evelyn saw her chance. Officer Beckett, she said, reading his name from his badge. You're about to make the biggest mistake of your career. Stand down. Troy hesitated. His grip on his weapon wavered as murmurs grew louder around him. Do you even know who you're pointing that at? Someone shouted. It was then that mall security rushed onto the scene. 2 guards appeared. Their faces drained of color as they surveyed the situation. What's going on here? One asked. Troy remained silent, but Evelyn was ready to speak. This officer drew his weapon on me for no reason, she said, her voice unwavering. I'd like to speak to your supervisor, please. Within minutes, the mall manager arrived, followed by a nearby police captain who had been shopping in the mall. The captain, a middle-aged black woman named Denise Harper, looked at Evelyn and gasped. General James? She asked, rushing forward. What's going on here? Evelyn calmly explained, her tone still firm but controlled. Captain Harper turned to Troy, her face thunderous. Put your weapon away, Officer Beckett, she demanded. Troy hesitated, but under the weight of Harper's commanding presence, he finally holstered his gun. I am so sorry, General. This is absolutely unacceptable, Captain Harper said, turning to Evelyn with deep remorse. Evelyn nodded, her face serious. It is unacceptable, and I expect this to be addressed properly. The fallout from the incident was swift and widespread. Videos of what happened went viral, causing outrage across the country. News outlets picked up the story, and Troy's history of racial profiling came under intense scrutiny. Within a week, Troy was suspended without pay while an investigation was launched into his actions. Meanwhile, Evelyn received an outpouring of support from the public and her peers in the military. In an interview, Evelyn remarked, "This isn't just about me. It's about the countless others who don't have the rank or platform to stand up for themselves. This has to stop." Her story quickly became a rallying cry for justice, shining a light on the dangers of prejudice and the importance of holding people accountable for their actions. What are your thoughts on this? Share them in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more updates on this story and more.